Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks again to Mr. Sal for joining us and to everyone who's joined today's conversation. So today we'll be discussing the role of technology in shaping the future of River State. I will do a quick introduction before I hand over to Bira, our focus group chair, to be our moderator for today's conversation. So for those who might be joining for the first time and might not be aware of what we're trying to achieve with this project, this is a quick, sort of like a quick crash course on what we're trying to do through the Rivers 2050 Vision Project. So if you plot a graph of the next 25 years, right, from 2025 to 2050, there have been several predictions that have been made by technology companies, international organizations, whether it's as it relates to climate or population or the likes. And I think five of these we've identified as a group, sort of are the ones that affect us the most. Things like sea level rise, things around the fact that global superpowers will be made to divest from oil between the next 9 to 10 years. Things like the growth in renewable energy, with by 2028, solar will be overtaking coal in electricity generation globally, or even predictions by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that River State's population could rise to between 13 to 15 million over the next 10 years. So these are some of the things that we think that the state needs to be thinking about. And as young people, whose futures basically will be shaped by these predictions and technology and the growth of various things like AI and ICT and stuff. How can we position the state, and how can we position ourselves as individuals as well to ensure that, we are not left behind, that Rivers doesn't become a story of the past, but that the state can continue to remain resilient, even moving forward. And this is how we've shaped this project. Following these various stages, we set up a task force that has over 100 young people from across the 23 local government areas. We've launched a survey, a statewide survey, harnessing thoughts and dreams and ideas from Rivers people across the 23 local government areas. We've been hosting focus group discussions that we've done so far in culture and tourism, healthcare, sports, and the likes, and technology and innovation as well. And then key informant interviews like we have today with a very accomplished leader who's been a very good ambassador for our state. So this is how we've designed the project, and the four basic pillars basically with which we are thinking about this are education, employment, energy, and economic diversification. We think that if you think of the 4 E's for the Rivers 2050 project, these are the 4 pillars with which the state needs to really do better in, because it makes no sense that being one of the lifebloods of Nigeria's economy, you have over 4 million people in our state living in multidimensional poverty. That doesn't make any sense, and that's something that we definitely need to fix and fix together as a state. So yeah, so every information, whether it's discussions from today, discussions we've had so far from across this project, will all come together in the Rivers 2050 Vision Book, which will be launched next year, which we hope will become a citizen manifesto for the future, which citizens can use to hold public leaders accountable, and also hold ourselves accountable as to what kind of future we're living for our children and for posterity. And yes, and we thank everyone that's been able to support us so far. The work on the book is already ongoing, as most of you would know. And so all this information we're gathering from these engagements form part of the content that will go into the book. All the info as well is available on our website, so please do check it out, rivers2050.org. And if you haven't also taken the survey as well, this rivers2050.org/survey also has the information as well. All the recorded conversations also go on our YouTube as well. At Policy Shapers, you'll find all that information there, all the previous focus group discussions and all the things that we've done so far. So going into today's conversation, we're discussing the role of technology in shaping the future of the state. And it's been a 2-part series. We had the first part of the discussion in August, where we had people in the ICT space, technology space, people who have hubs or have started startups within the states. some not even in the country at the moment, come to share what their experiences have been like. And we think that this second part makes a lot of sense because if you think about ICT in this country, I think you can only count maybe a couple of companies that have been able to last for over 2 decades. And Cinfores has been able to last for two decades plus, despite being in Port Harcourt. They've been able to build from here and scale across the country and across the continent. So there's so much to learn from our guests today. And a few things that we also learned from the FGD, just to bring our guests up to speed. We learned things like the fact that River State actually doesn't lack tech talent. Most of the talent that is built, whether it's people who are building things in the crypto space currently or building a lot in education and ed tech, they all start from River State, but for some reason they start here and then move away. And so some of the questions we'll be asking today will be like, how can we ensure that we retain our tech talent, and how can we find out that we have more companies like Cinfores over the next decade, building and growing from within the states. We also discussed issues like security and political instability, as being key factors to attracting investment to the states, and also the fact that there needs to be like a conscious effort to ensure that we upskill the coming generation. And I mean, the conversations around the curriculum uh, upgrade from the past couple of weeks has been met with a lot of happiness. But beyond just upgrading the curriculum content, there's need to ensure that we also have infrastructure in our schools needed to be able to teach technology to solve local problems around us. So, without wasting much time, I would read the bio of our guest and then I hand over to the moderator to take us forward. So we're really lucky and excited to have Mr. Ibifuro Asawo join us today. He's a software and innovation strategist who delights in problem solving using software and other digital tools to enhance business processes, improve service delivery, and operational efficiency. He's the CEO of Cinfores Limited, a company he co-founded during his time as a student at the River State University alongside three other friends. He has continuously steered the company towards greatness through his 20 years of existence, making it the foremost ICT for D company in Nigeria, delivering digital solutions for client efficiency. Under his leadership, Cinefores has developed and deployed a wide range of innovative ICT solutions across key sectors. Things like BrainFriend, which most of us know and used in the education suite, like Sukulu and Teachers Hub, campus management platforms like eCampus, Aspire, eSchool, tax management information system for state revenue collection, and Medics Track for hospital administration. He's married and blessed with 5 kids, and he's also a minister in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So over to Bira and Chiwendun. Thank you so much, Mr. Sao, for we know that this is a very it's very tough to get your time, but we're really like honored that you made our time to come join us. And I'll hand over now to Bira and Chiwendun to take this forward. Over to you, Bira.
Thank you, Iben. A very, very warm welcome to everyone on the call, most especially to our guest for today, Mr. Ibifuro Asawo. We are delighted to have you, more than just for the fact that you are a full-time Port Harcourt person, but for the impact that you had in Port Harcourt and River State at large. So welcome, sir. Okay. So I hope
Thank you.
you can hear us. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All
thank you
right.
for having me. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. So we are going to start our conversation without wasting much time, and to also get our conversation on the right track. I understand that talking we are talking future. We are talking about the next 25 years, but it will also be of benefit to every one of us on this call if we get to have a glimpse of what it was before now. So in simple terms, we just want to have an idea, just want to know what growing up in Port Harcourt was like for you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Eben, Denisa, and team. Chiwendu and for thanks for having me. And I just want to commend the work you're doing. Um, that's that's you know, future engineering is not small work, and young people like you guys, taking up this responsibility that government ought to, take and lead. I think it's highly commendable. Seeing people from Port Harcourt taking this responsibility. That's the spirit, we've always desired to see amongst the young people here, to see how we'll be able to take the bull by the horn and then come up with our own local solutions that will meet our own, needs here. And I must, say, well done, well done. I don't know where you're getting all the resources from, and but I just know that, of course, you've got tenacity, and the resilience, to to carry out this work. It's enormous, and I'm glad to be here, to make my own modest contribution to see how we'll be able to move our state forward. Um, Growing up in Port Harcourt is quite, quite a wonderful experience. I have lived my first 3 years, I think I lived in the western part of the country, and then did my fourth year in Kaduna, came back again, stayed in the village a bit, with my grandparents, and then finally moved into Port Harcourt 1984. Um, I was 6 years old then, and then started primary school. So I attended, you know, um, my first primary school in Port Harcourt here was St. Mary's State School. For those of us that are conversant with old Port Harcourt Township, St. Mary's is at Lagos bus stop. The St. Mary's Catholic Church, I was in the school there. So that's where I did my primary two. I'd done my primary one, in the village. And then, of course, I did my nursery school in Kaduna, in Zaria to be precise, when my mom was serving. So I'm one of the few people that did NYSC twice. Did it as a baby and then, went back as an adult to do NYSC again. And then, of course, my primary three, I moved school to Seychelles. I'm still around that axis. Seychelles is at Industry Road, near the NPA. That's on Industry Road, where you have flour mills, and then, of course, NPA, the Nigerian Ports Authority. And then, of course, I grew up, left Seychelles in primary five for secondary school, government comprehensive secondary school, number three. So from 1989 till 1994, I was in government comprehensive secondary school. I got my O levels there, and then of course, had to remedy physics, and then of course went to the School of Basic Studies, now Captain Elesi Amadi Polytechnic. So I got down there, did 1 year remedial, the UST MEP program, and then of course gained admission into the River State University. And so that's my education cycle. So every experience I've had in Port Harcourt, is around this. Primary school was fun. For those of us that lived in, old Port Harcourt Township, having those adjoining streets of, Victoria, Bende, Niger, Bonny, of course, transversing down, leading you to Burukuri and, and all of that. We had friends, all over town. And then, of course, more secured as kids, at age 7, I started moving as far as, the court complex from where I used to stay, Ivy Johnson, which is close to Lagos bus. I started moving that far, close to where we have Port Harcourt Spa now. That's the court complex. We used to go pick up, throw. There's this particular tree that gives off a particular seed, we used to play with, and then we'll go there, pick it, and then come back home. We used to have Kingsway, Leventing stores. These were fun places to go. Shanghai was also there, but of course, Leventis, Kingsway, and then Superboard were like the beach. they were like the big malls that we have today. We have Port Harcourt Mall and of course, the Garden City Mall. But then these were the two big places. The Port Harcourt Tourist Beach was still functional. We also would go there to have fun. We had zoo also, which was pretty much functional. We'll go to the zoo as well to catch some fun. And then of course in old Port Harcourt Township we had this Agaba, masquerades that come up that we call Agaba. I don't know where that name came from, but we just had these guys coming, and then there was this social club, O'Shea. I don't know where they are now. Okay, those guys will come and then, they would, from time to time, especially in festive period, I mean, these are big guys that came together and then formed that club. Then they will go around, the city, create fun, and then kids like us will join them and spray away, those were, kind of fun we caught, growing up in Port Harcourt. And then football, living very close to the recreation stadium at Lagos bus stop and then the civic center. Those were the center of, football. Then Liberation Stadium came. That was a bit farther from us, those of us that lived in town. Then we had Sharks, we had Eagles Men, football club before, of course. These two were, brought together to have Rivers United. And so we had these clubs, then we had other clubs, the NPA had their own football club, Ajib, had their own football club, Booster, then we had Booster, the Booster United. So all of these guys, I mean, we just go watch football sometimes, you forget that you need to do some chores at home. So it was great. And then we had a field, a public field behind us, owned by the prison service, which we always go out there to play football with our peers, our friends. The civic center was open, so you go there, go learn skills like I played, under 12, handball. And then we are practicing very hard for us to represent the state and then the country. Then, in Italy, table tennis was there for us to learn. Basketball was there for us. So the civic center was open. We want to go learn swimming, there. And so people in our age bracket that lived in town, you find out that we know how to play most of these games because the basketball court was there, and open for us. The coaches were there and then they were, waiting for us, the young ones to come. So immediately after school, most times we end up in those places just to recreate and then acquire these skills. So if you look at our generation, we are multi-talented in different games. I can play tennis very well. I can play football. I can play handball. I can do a bit of volleyball. I can do a bit of basketball. So, we were open for those of us that were stronger, went into boxing, and did all manner of things. The judo coaches were there. So the civic center was a complete place. So beyond the sports festivals, young people were encouraged to come in. So after school, we went in there and then picked up sports with those coaches. And so that's part of my memory, where we all lived a communal life. Every parent is like your father or mother, that will correct you. That's how we grew up, those days. We weren't isolated. There weren't fence walls, in town, old Port Harcourt Township where we grew up. And then, of course, for others that also grew up in GOP, no fence walls. Okay, so we could always interact with ourselves. Sanitation days, those days we normally have monthly sanitation. Sanitation days after you do clean your gutters, the next thing is to play football on the streets. We do that until it's 10 a.m. So those are like great days. And of course, here we are, in the rainforest, like it's raining today, some of those days, especially Fridays when you have rain like this. Rain football is also something that, we've always looked forward to. And then we did a lot of pranks when there is power outage, at night, young kids will come together and then all manner of pranks to our elders, to our peers, and so on and so forth. So that's um Memory lane back, some of the things we enjoyed. And then, of course, we had quite a lot of socialization. In secondary school, I was in the Interact Club, I was in the Press Club. So we used to have some of those things. The Drama Club, we had, things like Akonaki, we had all of those things. We go to parties, government girls we'll go to parties, telemaris. Those were things that, as students, we were also doing. The Rotary Club had the Interact, and I was more functional in the Interact Club. And then they'll teach us values. We had fellowship hours, there are songs we sing, and so on and so forth. The Press Club also was very functional those days as well. And from time to time, they'll take us to NSC, where you know, uh, they have the press house, and then of course they will also teach us things, about journalism there. So all of these tied together, made Port Harcourt quite an interesting place and a place people really looked forward to coming. And then you see quite a lot of people coming back here, for holidays as well, trying to spend their holidays. And we weren't in a hurry thinking of leaving Port Harcourt because holiday time is always a swell time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. So amazing memories. They are taking me down memory lane as well. I mean, I can relate to like quite um, a lot of items you mentioned. We are happy that you are here to share them with us. I mean, they are going to form part of what we are going to look forward to in the next 24 years as well. Thanks so much, sir. So moving forward, our next question is despite the popular trend that most tech companies are often built and situated in Lagos, I mean it is also backed by a lot of statistics here and there. But despite this, you and your co-founders persisted and built Cinfores here in Port Harcourt, and you've stayed here for over 20 years. We just want to have an insight on what motivated you to do this.
Yeah, so Cinfores was given birth to here in Port Harcourt in our university days, and we just wanted to change the narrative. I did a bit of my stay in Lagos during my 6 months internship. Lagos is a great place. To always motivate you, make you to to you know to always bring out your best. So Lagos is great, but we just thought we could actually change the narrative. If everybody, lives for Lagos, who will motivate the people here? We felt our story was compelling enough, and God being also very gracious unto us, have been benevolent and has been causing people to see us, even if we're not in Lagos. We could see ourselves, you know, having projects done in Lagos. We did projects for MTN, we did projects for Etisalat, and then, the Lagos team made itself. So we discovered that, we don't really need to move. Of course, we've had our office in Lagos for almost 15 years, we've had our office and presence, but that's not our production center. It's basically our sales outlet, which we use to sell the products that, we produce out from Port Harcourt. And then not too long, we had to also set up an office in Abuja, okay, which we also use. We've been working in Abuja as well as early as when the business began. These three cities, have been the fulcrum of our work. And then, of course, lately in the last 2, 3 years, we started opening outlets in Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, Ondo, Ondo is the latest, Ogun is the latest now that will be opening a place, sometime next week to start our activities there. So, but Port Harcourt, the whole idea is, hey, something good can come out of Port Harcourt that can touch the entire country and beyond. We can actually set up something like that from Port Harcourt. And then we felt that that's the only thing that we can do to also encourage young people. Because if we had left, then of course there will be nobody for people to point to, especially in the tech space. Because we started this tech thing quite early, we started it 20 years ago. There's hardly anybody in the industry that we do not know, anybody in the industry. We got in, people that got in with us, all our age mates have all gone. Nobody's there. It's either they've gone abroad or they've been subsumed by one of these big tech companies. But who've been there all the while, the ones that we are bigger than us today, we are far, far bigger than them, and so on and so forth. Of course, the early part of this industry was basically in the area of the hardware. Okay, software wasn't there, but we started that software journey very early. And it's now that people are looking into that direction. But, when we started that, we were very few people doing this. And of course, if you look at all the people that started this software journey with us, we are among very few that are left. So the whole idea is, create a company that will be able to touch the rest of the globe from Port Harcourt that will inspire people in this region to know that something good like this can come out of the region. I just want to add that, it hasn't been easy taking that stand. And most times you go out, they feel you're from Yoruba, okay, or they feel you're Igbo. There's hardly any time we go to fairs that, people don't feel that way. They hardly believe that, people from Niger uh, can actually, come up with organizations like this that will stand the test of time, or men looking at the product, not even knowing how long we've existed, but looking at the product to say, hey, people will put in this. In fact, sometimes they feel, we have developers in India that do all of this stuff for us, okay, or, in Eastern Europe that are doing all of these things for us. But, that's the story and the encouragement we have for the young people. You can be here to touch, the rest of the world if you are determined to do so.
Mm. Amazing, really, really amazing story. I think it's inspirational for a lot of us in River State and the South region as well. So, as a follow-up, sir, what are some solutions? We are quite aware of like a lot of projects that Cinfores have been into, but for emphasis, what are some of these solutions and projects that you you worked on in the past decade or past 2 decades that you are incredibly proud of?
Yeah, so every project, we celebrated, we're still in our celebration mode. It's gonna climax tomorrow with a Thanksgiving service, our 21st anniversary, and we're just looking. We've got over 21 solutions that we've developed, the first 15 years were basically around education, you know, the first 15 years. But here we are, in the last 6 years, okay, we've done more solutions. We've done like 14 different solutions outside education, you know. So great solutions. When we look at the impact, some of them are known, some of them are not known, but the ones that are out there. Brainfriend, of course, is the mother of all our solutions. That's the first software we came up with, you know, um, and it's still being relevant because every day of our being as an organization, somebody is developing a content. As I speak now, I know there's somebody in the content team, that is doing some work that has been on for 21 years. And it's quite remarkable. So, what started with past questions and answers today is evolved into a full blown e learning solution, customized, with animations for primary school. And then, of course, you've got urban and then people, creative, young people came on board, came up with new ideas, and all of that. And seeing that, you know, Friend is one software that has inspired the entire edtech industry in this country. Um, you know, every one of them, you know, including you lesson, all of them, the ones that you know, and the ones you don't know. And the likes of you lesson came coaching, they took most of our animators, of course, they could pay more. So they did all of that, but for us, it's developing the sector that people are looking at. The lead animator in U-Lesson went through our program here in Tech Week, to see. She went. So, of course, most of the people here, that animators in the organization, are people we trained in the pre. So, when that opportunity also came, they took some. And for us, we are not feeling bad because we're looking at the amount of impact we have made, you know, standardizing. Because people were selling things that were substandard, but we kept on, moving the benchmark, and then we forced everybody that if you want to play in this space, these are the minimum standards you're going to have. So we defined the standard, and everybody's working towards that. It's a tall order because we've done it over 20 years. Most people that are just coming in with big, deep pockets, they think money can do it. Yeah, there are certain things money can do. Like I tell my team, if you have a trillion naira, you can build a 10-story building today. You don't need a trillion to build a 10-story building. But even with a trillion naira, you can't build a 10-story building in one day. There are certain processes that need to still take place. So that's what's happening as well. So BrainFriend is a phenomenal tool, which we are proud of, which the federal government also is still partnering with us and deploying across the country, through the Universal Basic Education Commission. During the COVID, it impacted many lives. Stay safe, and learn program in this state and some other states, it came in handy. And so Great Friend is top there, in our list. Is giving birth to Sukulu. All right, Sukulu is an offshoot of Brain Friend. So when we saw that, you know, the Generation Z and Alpha, their retention period is also reducing. They are looking for more rewards, like unlike our generation. So we came with Sukulu, which is learn and earn. So while you're learning, you're earning points, and you can actually swap those your points, for pizza, for ice cream, for whatever gift you want. So we've got a swap shop where you can actually swap those your points. It could be assignments who can give to you. So that's a new one, that of course we launched out of it. We've got the teachers up still, around that. That's specialized for teachers because what we've done, we discovered, was taking care of students, but we've seen the gap that, in this tech age, the teachers are far away from, the tools, the technological tools. So we are trying to bridge that gap, and then we came up with Child Hub as well. So they are all in the same family. Then we have e-campus that has transformed the way results. We met results in USD and a good number of tertiary institutions here. So e-campus is come to change all of that narrative. Students can have their results, their transcripts, and so on and so forth. So that also is a big one for us. We also used to run the scholarship management system, which used to run scholarship for RSSDA, for Total, for Shell. We used it to run for PTDF. We conducted tests as well for the likes of NDDC. So Brave Friend, of course, gave us a testing platform, which is called the Examiner, which we use to conduct, those PBT tests, across, the country. Then, of course, the scholarship management solution, which we use to manage scholarships as well. And then we look at the impact. We have people who say, hey, I don't know anybody. I just came for this test. I passed. The integrity of the system, that story is reverberating. When we were managing for NDDC, we didn't know to know anybody. The RSSDA, you didn't need to know anybody, and we saw people benefited from this. So those things were quite impactful. And then lately, what we've done in the judiciary is quite phenomenal. That's what is now rapidly taking us to more states, trying to see how we can introduce technology in our courts and in the entire judiciary system. That is taking us, we are managing courts now in Lagos, we are managing the courts in Oyo, production, we are managing costs, though, so they're all using our platforms, and Ogu is a new one. Part of this system is the e-affidavit system, which, we brought out from nowhere, in the country. And I don't know, many places they use that kind of software in Africa as well. Initially, when it came up, there were quite a lot of going back and forth with legalities and all of that. But today, everybody's come to say, oh, EOS, is the in pain that lawyers, we are also, of course, afraid that their job, will be taken away from them. How we're able to digitize, different affidavit templates, as many as you can think about. And then we've got generic templates as well, that people can use. And every day, all the solutions are evolving, new things are emerging out of them, you know, um, changing the way people actually handle things. The tax management in the state also, when we introduced this six, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, was also novel. The way we looked at, how taxes need to be managed, where every taxpayer has a profile, where organizations have profiles and all of that. So that also is one solution that, looking back, I think has also changed the way we've seen how the Federal Inland Revenue Service, are taking some part of it. We've seen how other revenue services, are also trying to copy, the things we are doing. Like I said, because we are an IT firm that is set out for development, calling, we really don't mind people copying, so that the standard will improve for us as a country. So we really don't mind it. So, so when the standards for people, and then we can only grow from there to better, standards and better level as it were. So these are a few solutions. There are others which we are doing, like we came up with the local government identification, the local government identification card, the letters that we all have. Okay, we came with the electronic format of it as well, which we call the LGA ID card, which today, now, by virtue of what the immigration service is doing, you can now verify if this person is from that particular local government. And a host of others. We did the biometrics in the States, after they had failed biometrics. I think, where every civil servant, public servant can log in, you see your profile, you see all your documents. You're able to do that seamlessly for the state, without, so much hassle. That also, I think, is something that when we look back, we're happy with ourselves. And then lastly, the hospitals. We also came up with an audacious project, in ensuring that medical records, you can actually roam, with your medical records. So if I go to Awoda, if, a primary healthcare center in Awoda, which is on this platform, my records are there. If I live there and I go to Digeman, I will be able to see my records as well. If I come to the River State University Teaching Hospital, which is our tertiary institution now that we have, apart from, UPTH, my records are also going to be there. So that journey has started. We've done pilots, we've done a number of things, quite ambitious. Steadily, it's growing, and we hope that, if we get the support, bulk of these things now, we are no longer waiting for government. Okay, especially things we do in public sector, we don't wait for government, and that's why what you're doing resonates, with me. So we don't wait for them. So we go to find, the terms on how things will be done. We source for the funds, we set up the infrastructure for them, and then we run the things. Most times, what they give to you, basically the market, so they just give you the market. People that will come to the hospital, you can go get them. So that's what they give to you. Every other thing, you have made available for them so that they can actually, enjoy the improved service delivery that you have desired for them.
Interesting, interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's all screaming impact, impact, impact. Thank you so much, and we are incredibly proud of what Cinfores has achieved uh, so far in the last 2 decades. Now, to everyone on the call, you know you can ask your questions, and Mr. Ibifuro will be answering some of your questions in some minutes coming. So you can either drop the questions in the chat, or you can better still hold on to it, and when we get to the question and answer session, you'll be able to ask your question. And reading some charts, some comments in the chat. Uh, Eben said one of my favorites is Brain Friend. I mean, that's everybody's favorite. Okay, so moving forward to our next question. I mean, during your last explanation, you talked about the impact that Tech Creek had made, and also interestingly, 3 weeks ago, like Eben shared before, when we had the technology and innovation focus group discussion, uh, quite a number of the tech experts, praised Tech Creek as a source of their expertise. And importantly, you were behind the founding of that Tech Creek when you worked in government. And also, we are wondering what you've learned from running that incubation hub, and also how we can expand technology literacy across other local governments of the states. Now, talking about decentralizing it, taking it out, not just Port Harcourt, but to the other local governments.
Yeah, thank you. So Tech Week came in, when we as an organization were still also thinking what we can do. And we discovered that we didn't have, a complete ecosystem that could feed us. And so we were thinking about a program we tagged co-gaminators, co-gaminators. So we just thought about that program not too long. We were given the responsibility to oversee the ICT department of the state. And the whole idea of co-geminators was basically for us to have an internship program where interns, graduate interns will come. We're going to train them in coding, games development, animation, and cinematography, so that they will feed into our system. So while we were thinking about that, they called us to oversee the state ICT department. And of course, that place was, just there, nothing was happening. And then we thought we could actually run that place. And, we coined the name. This is and the Creek. Okay, the Creek boys, everybody knew the Creek for something, negative. And we felt, we should change the narrative. And then, that name came up. And, it revibrated. I know Tech Cabal and most of them, all of them came down. They wanted to see, how many states came down here to see what we were doing in that place. It was ambitious. In fact, um, if you look at the plans we had for that place, if they were not located, because that place used to be a borough, where you had that glass building. For those of you that knew that place earlier, you know, we had to fill that place up. We came up with the glass building. We had those caravans, worked on. In fact, the EU was even quarreling with us because they brought in caravans there for a project. And then, we told them move those caravans out, otherwise we take them. They didn't move them, and then we took those caravans and we had to pay them, off for that. We designed the place, so there was a place for play as well. We had all of that design. And then, we also had a design for hostels, in the place because, we just wanted a full incubation, hub where people would come, live, play, and, work. Essentially, that's the entire design. So even after the creek, so in order for us to ensure that that creek we have in the name, we took, so there's that creek, out there. So we extended, because all of that land, nothing. So we filled the whole of, beyond the creek so that, we could take it. And the idea was to also have a monkey bridge, so you can link this part where you have the buildings and where, currently now that's part of the land, the Internal Revenue Service, we have took that part of the land that they're building a structure there. So the whole plan was we'll have another set of structures in that place that you used to link, and then it's a full-blown community in that place. And where you have the um is it oak gardens, oak
Yeah, Oak
yeah,
Park, sorry.
just next to the creek by the flyover. All of that was part, yes, Oak, yeah, yeah. So all of that place was also part of the design. The whole idea is that we're going to create a fiber in there, and then the whole of that corridor, you'll be able to do whatever tech. You have free internet access. You do. So that was the dream. And then we started that journey, and the governor gave some, support after we started because one day he called and like, what are you guys doing in that place? He says, we're working. He said, who gave people money? He said, they're using our own money to do it. And then, he was like, no, no, no. That was how, he started providing for the place. He came there. I said, you guys need a new generation. In fact, he was now, he took over the whole thing. Um, so that place, we started the co-coordinators program there, batch one, batch two, batch three, and I tell you about 5,000 youths were trained, in the course of that period. The exposure was phenomenal. I mean, any day I pass through there, I still feel that's one of the, biggest achievements, we made, overseeing the ICT department. Yeah, the place is run down now. You know, each time I pass there, I know many young children because of the holiday programs we are running for them there. They come in there, they spend the whole of August in that place, and I know what impact it made in the lives of these young people. And the dream was have something that is that successful and then replicate. So we started talking to the local government area chairman. And then, of course, most of them were buying in because we wrote to them that they should all sponsor, people in that place. And then that began as well before, we stepped aside. So the whole idea was we wanted every LGA to have at least 100, seater computer laboratory, incubation center, where these people will be able to learn, even two, three, skills like, can be given. That the people that have been trained in the center, the same people from their LGAs are trained. These people will in turn go, into the various LGAs and then, train as well. That was the entire idea. That, in the next 10 years, our target was to make Port Harcourt the sub-Saharan Africa, headquarters for content development, anything content you want to talk about, because we were doing, we had the biggest 2D animation, workforce. By the time we finished the 3-4 set, no place in Nigeria where you have 2D animators like you would have. We started talking about Injada Opopobo, the 2D animation version of it, Ken Saro-Wiwa, we had Kenole as a project, that was coming up. So these were, and we were investing people because we wanted people to come in and then see, and we wanted to also present things about our state, so people will get to know that, we got people. Our games, the games, we had Port Harcourt Run. Port Harcourt Run was actually using, the streets, mainly Aba Road, as a game. You see different spots in Aba Road as you're doing Port Harcourt Run. So it was lucky these guys came, they put in their best, were doing, and then when things went south as it were, okay, guys, began to leave. Guys began to leave. That was how you started seeing the number of these guys, they began to leave. Because what we were trying to do then was to create here a melting point where if you want to outsource from any part of the country, you would just come into this place and then, outsource to get the right set of people that you require. So Tech Creek was actually designed for that and for it to expand. So we would have had Tech Creek, in different flavors, in different LGs, looking at their comparative advantage and interest as well in those areas, and then come up with, IT ops. And I think that is not lost yet. Currently, we started something now with the University. So there is a creative academy and innovation hub that we are just putting together now in the River State University. So in the coming months, you'll begin to hear about that. That already is set to kick off in October, and so products from that place you will begin to hear. In my own organization, all right, we already have incubated for 6 months now, graduate trainees, about 40 of them. You know, they were over 40. Some of them had failed out, of the course. So we have about 40 of them left that are going to have quite a number of these things that we are looking at. So um, hope is still alive, and we are very, very certain that our dream of making Port Harcourt, the headquarters in sub-Saharan Africa in terms of content development will still be achieved.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you once more for sharing. Once again to everyone, very soon we'll be taking your questions. So, like I said, kindly drop them in the chat, or if you want to speak, you will get to that point and then you share them. All right. Okay. So moving forward, sir, one of the challenges that we identified during the tech and innovation focus group discussion was the fact that a lot of our tech talents that are groomed or that were groomed in Port Harcourt have all moved out, moved out of the state to go either to Lagos or abroad. Yeah, I know we've talked about this before now, but it's an issue, and then we have to also like talk about it singularly. So how can we ensure that in the next decade, many more indigenous tech companies, just like Cinfores, can grow and more than just growing, stay and still in Port Harcourt?
So people talk about enabling environment. What I would want to talk, about the government needs to create that. Yes, I don't like pushing things to government because you know I like the government's inability is a challenge, and that challenge, that problem, is a problem that entrepreneurs are meant to solve because entrepreneurs are there to solve all of these problems. Okay, so when government is not able to create the enabling environment, it's our place as young people and young entrepreneurs to think of ways in which we can solve this problem. And that's what we've been doing as an organization. Um, and so I would want to say that although government has its own place to create the enabling environment, we as young people must also develop the tenacity and the grit it requires, to reinvent some of these things that we are looking at. If we do not, come out all out and take up resilience, as part of the skill set we have within us, then some of these things, people will always be looking for the easier way out. And the truth is, if there are more enabling places where you have, enabling environment, guess what? People would naturally drift to those places. So government will need to play a role. For those of us that are older in the system, we too we have a role to play, and that's what we're trying to do with the university now. To say, hey, before these guys leave school, we're going to create. So what we are trying to do is that UST is a 40,000, population, student population, community. We plan that in the next 3 years, out of that 40,000 population, 10,000 of them would have acquired some skills that while they are still in school, right, the skills they would have acquired, because these skills we are talking about, 6 months, you have acquired some of these skills that can set you on fire if you're serious. All right. I mean, we had a program for the the teenagers in the month of August. And a 13-year-old, after the course, because the course just spanned for 2 weeks, after the course now, she knows how to, so she can navigate herself now to learn more, and she's doing more. The mother testimony is there, the same thing, So you don't need so much long time to, fire yourself up to be what you want to be. So within the next 3 years, our plan is we make sure that every student in the UST, irrespective of what you're studying, for computer science and engineering students, they give it, right? You must know how to do either your animation, or you will know how to do product design, that's UI UX, or you will know how to do, um, um, web development, right? It's front end or back end, and then people will also be trained in the area of, cloud service management. We are talking about things around cybersecurity. We are talking about things around media, cinematography, how to use all of those tools. So that while they are still in school, they can actually be doing stuff. And these things are real things that we have seen. I've got, I've got, a space. I have like a space for internship in my organization, and we are looking at 40 people that come for internship annually. I mean, at any given point in time, so if you come now, you see about 40 of them. All right. And these 40 students, I mean, one is living now. This school is on a landmark. That boy is from Landmark, right? He's living, he spent about 6 months. After 3 months, after 3 months, we started using him for UI UX activities. He was learning UI UX. Okay, when he came, of course, no direction, but after testing here and there, he settled for UI UX. Okay, he studied software engineering in Landmark. Yeah, this young boy, we started using it for our project, and we have many of them like that. There's another young guy, JC, that one is just, I think JC will be like 16, 17 now, and that's Redeemers University. Same thing. We have some guys from UST like that as well. They started doing stuff, okay? Some of them that are doing their NYSC, now we are even engaging them wherever they have to do stuff for us. So if within 6 months or sometimes 3 months they come in, they can acquire that. We are certain that if we put the right, policy in place, in the next 3 years, these 10,000 students would have been invested. I mean, we are going to be working, night and day. So we've got both physical and virtual activities that we'll be doing, with them. And then, of course, during holiday and during school period, these guys will be there. So they will be learning, and we are also DroneWorks just launched now. DroneWorks, Fenewalk and his team, what they are doing is basically they provided a talent pool, okay, a talent space. And all of these guys, DroneWorks should be able to suck them in so that they can actually be outsourced. For us, we've got quite a lot of projects that we are doing. Naturally, naturally, we are looking for talents at every point in time that we're going to take in. So we will take in and then expand, most of these activities we are doing. However, we've got, a platform like DroneWorks that we are also now going to be putting these talents, and then they can be earning while they are still in school. So with that, when people begin to realize that they can earn, okay, what I've got some of my colleagues in the office that work for Emirates. Okay, so gig.
Hello, sir. Are you still there?
Yeah, I think his connection.
They work for Cinfores. They're also working for Emirates. They've designed, some of them, the animators give us to get those things done. In fact, a month ago, a team just came back from Abuja. We took our team from Port Harcourt here. How many of them? About 15 of them, right? And then took them to our Abuja office, all right? Because in our Abuja office, we have an apartment as well. So we took them there because we don't want any disturbance, from home. We took them there for special projects. I mean, so they could as well stay there to work. And that's what we do for 3 months. Some of them were there for 3 months, 3 good months, on this project because we wanted them to meet up targets. So these things are all possible. You don't need to, leave Port Harcourt, to get these jobs done. Some of them that have left Port Harcourt, all right, are still asking us for jobs while they are still there. Okay, over there in Lagos or in Abuja, as the case may be. And we still meet them with jobs. So today, in today's world, you don't need to migrate, okay, for you to get those opportunities. What you need is the competence. And what we want to create is where they will acquire that competence. Because once you acquire the competence, and you start doing stuff, people will see your stuff, people will ask, and then, you begin to show that these are the guys that are doing this, and then, we will be able to overcome that challenge. So from the private sector, that's what we are thinking about. But we expect that government also will be frontal about this and then say, hey guys, this tech up, we're going to set this up properly again, we're going to make it functional again. We're going to also ensure that if not for all LGAs, let's start with the three senatorial districts. We are going to replicate this now. And then from there, we're going to move it down to all the LGAs as well. So once government also begins to invest in these things as well, and then work out sustainable models around them, we should be able to get that result that you're talking about. People not running away from the record as they do frequently.
Thank you so much, sir. Really interesting. I like that we are talking about government now, right? So while you were working in government as a special advisor on ICT, we understand that you got like first-hand view of how bureaucracy works in River State, right? And we are just wondering what are some of the initiatives that you worked on while you were there, and also I know you've shared a bit on this now, but what are your thoughts on how governments can actually leverage, this technology to offer better service delivery? Talking about holistically now.
Yeah, so essentially, government, I don't want to believe that, they are not aware. We've tested the thing. What we came to do within the space that we had, we didn't have the resources in terms of all the resources we required, but the few resources, that we had, and then of course, the little resource we had, and then, what we thought we should also give back. Okay, because bulk of the things we started doing the first 6, 7 months, there wasn't anybody giving to us. Everything we did within that period was purely our own sweat. Everything. And thank God because we're a software house, so we had a talent. So we brought everything to bear, we worked, we brought in our money, and every naira, every kobo that was given for one initiative or the other, because we're a software house, all right, we were able to manage it. And not just a software house, but a full-blown IT company. We got a networking team, we got our hardware team, and these guys, we are prosecuting this project, and all that. So we're able to minimize cost in all of this. Government needs to come to that realization that technology, is helping. And, the numbers speak. So if you go to the tax management system, before we started the platform, River State was generating about, 7 billion per month. That platform has been there for over 5 years. Those numbers have increased, those numbers have increased. Today, the state is talking about an average of 30 billion, right, in a month. So that is what technology can do. People can get their tax clearance certificate. We are not saying it is perfect because there are more things to be done. Okay, but of course, the numbers and the things are obvious. If you get down to the court now, there's technology in the court. Lawyers can attest, the judges can attest. far, 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 far better than what it used to be. Are we, in the best of places yet? The answer is no. There are rooms for improvement, certainly rooms for improvement, but we move. So in all the sectors that technology has been deployed, you could see the difference between what used to be and where we've gone. And I think that should encourage the government to invest more, because the truth is that the government has not made any serious deliberate investment in technology. Most of the things we do ourselves. So I go in there now, I'm doing something for health, right? And I'm deploying the hardware, I'm deploying the connectivity, I'm deploying the software that I built. Okay, I'm helping them to train their doctors and all their personnel, all right, at my own cost. And I'm also going to work with them to do campaigns. This is what is obtainable. I'm deploying cost solutions across the country. It is the same thing. All right. So I do all of these things, and then I ask for a service charge for each person that is going to use that service. And I hope that I will be able to recover my money over maybe a 5-year period or a 6-year period or something. That's the kind of model that you're driving to ensure that government embraces technology, where they don't pay anything, but they can enjoy, the improved service delivery. That's where most times our government, there are few state governments that have said, hey, no, we know this thing is what the war. Okay, we are going to put in X amount of money to ensure that this works. That's why you find out that those governments that are doing that are the ones that are also with understanding can also put in money to train their youth, okay, positioning their youth for what all of this, will snowball into. For those ones that do not have the understanding, they don't care, because they don't know the place of what technology is going to do. And I want to believe that, in the next few years, they will see the difference. Between what the decision they've taken and the decision others have taken as well.
Who's- What a conversation we've had. I mean, a lot to take away, a lot to learn. I'm sure that it's a wholesome like content for the Rivers 2025 book, actually 2050 book, right, actually. Okay, so let me just take some comments. Let me take a comment while we get ready to ask for one or two questions before we progress to the last question for our conversation. Okay, so Dr. Ann says it is great to know that there are a lot of models to aspire to become for young men. She goes on to say the pervasive culture of betting, gambling, and the Yahoo culture is so troubling and seen as is often seen as taking center stage most times. I agree. Okay, so if you have a question to ask or comment to share, just raise up your hands. We'll just take one or two before we go on to take the final questions for the session. And okay, so we have one person. We have JC, but before we take Jesse's question, is there another person? So we just know. Okay, so if not, we take just Jesse, then we'll move forward. Okay, there's Dr. So we'll just take these two, and then we'll move forward to our final question. So, JC, let's hear you.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Can you
JC.
hear me? Yes, good evening,
Yes, we
sir.
can.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Ibifuro. Thank you very much, sir. Your story really has inspired me so far because, growing up in Port Harcourt also, it's, and also as a startup founder, it's something that I really, really find very encouraging. Recently, about, a year ago, I tried to launch a startup which is currently, running that connects outgoing tenants to renters to sort of ease the whole house hunting stress currently. And, it's been quite a challenge, from the building inception and everything. First things first, I wasn't really into software engineering. So because of the startup, I had to go and learn, the software engineering skills just so that I could build it, because funding it to get, software engineers to build it for me wasn't something I could do. So I remember then in 2022, I got into this ALX course where they were taking like free software, engineering courses. So I had to go and learn, the software engineering skills just to build it, right? And then I had to learn some things about business to market. There's been a lot of, learning and a lot of things that I've been getting into, right? First things first, because I didn't really have the funding to make it work myself. So I had to do lots of things, myself. And it's also a challenge because whilst you're putting in that effort, people are expecting you to be able to do some things for yourself, but then you're so engrossed in a particular vision. And not many people are seeing the benefit of what you're doing, at that moment. So my first question is, how do you navigate that, putting in so much resources, putting in so much effort to build your product, to build your project, but then you have other needs that are pressing you and are also, highly demanding of you. And, you're in a place where not many people actually believe in the potential of what you're doing, because the idea is that you're done with school, you should go and work in an oil company, and you tell them you want to start a company, you sound crazy. So how do you navigate that, putting all your resources to, build your product, and then you're not having much, support financially, right? So also support you while you're doing that. And then secondly, also it's mentorship, right? I'm not just talking about like a far distance. I'm talking about mentorship in close proximity, because I feel like um, having a mentor around Port Harcourt that understands the Port Harcourt terrain, understands the Port Harcourt startup space can actually help facilitate your growth. But then I heard your story, how you started really early. And I don't know if you had people to actually lift your hands here in Port Harcourt. So how did you do it, sir? Because I'm feeling the pressure. So I just imagine what you felt. So please just, can you enlighten me, sir? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesse. So, sir, do you want to respond to Jesse, or we can take Anne's question and you respond to both of them?
So let's take Anne's question. So I'll respond to both.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So for me, it's not even a question. I'm just utterly grateful, because for the fact that there are people, young people can look up to, is a big deal for me. And I'm also saying thank you, sir, for starting from the university, because that is usually where there are like a lot of students and there's a lot of peer pressure. And then we've seen across board how the Yahoo culture is pervasive. And it's basically right from the university where they are under some form of pressure that I cannot understand, to drive cars and all that. So this is me just basically saying thank you, sir. That's what I wanted to say.
Oh, welcome. All right, so over to Jesse's question. Jesse, I feel your pain. So yesterday I was having a mentoring lecture at the River State University, where I graduated from, and I shared, some of these experiences. In fact, the topic they gave me was the audacity to start. Okay, the audacity to start. All right, they say the risk, resilience, and reward. Okay, of starting, and I shared our experience. So, family pressure would come, especially when you graduated. And I shared the story, same thing you're going through. So when we came back from NYSC, you know, we were looking at us. Before we went for NYSC, nobody bothered us at all. We're doing our stuff, eating the food in the house, and then counting our millions that they were not seeing. And then, of course, begging them transport after we count our millions. And then, we just move on. They never bothered us. But when we came back from NYC, and that still persisted, you know, I told them yesterday that our parents began to persecute us as regards this our vision. All right. Because we are counting, oh, if we sell 1,000, CDs of brain friend, we have made 1 million naira, because we are selling it at 1,000 naira, then I mean, 1,500 naira. Cost of production was 500 naira. So we're counting and we make 1 million. So that was a big deal for us. And while we're doing that, after we finish counting the money, our civil servant parents, who's in the sitting room were using like office because we are rotating, would have finished eating their food. They will come in, see us, talk this million again, and then we're going. Some of us don't have complete transport. We'll go to them again, connect transport. And then this kept on. And then some of our parents couldn't take it again. And they said, look, you guys are back from service. Can you please go and look for a job and then be doing so that you have money? Then this your million you're counting now. It will be a part-time job. Then we're calling it, side hustle. It will be a part-time job. You can be doing it part-time. And the truth is that some of us gave in because of the pressure, but some of us did not. And that's why you're seeing Cinfores, today. Um, we told ourselves, and I told the ones that were with me there, I said, look, we're going to create our own chevron, we're going to create our own shell, we're going to create our own slumberger. And that's why, from day one, we weren't looking at a short-term journey. The way some people look at some of these things, some of these young people just want to hammer, they get some money now, they just jack back, and then go and be truck drivers abroad and all that. Everything will finish. No, that's not it. We are in for the long haul. I tell my colleagues, I'm almost 50, and I should be thinking of retirement at this stage. Let the younger generation begin to, catch and then rekindle this fire, that we have been able to set up. And so it's for the long run. I can't change the world in my own time, everything. But we can set the stage for others and help them so that there are guide rails, for them, and they won't make the mistakes we've made. And then, of course, we've given them our shoulders to stand upon, and that's what we are trying to do. So, Mr. Jesse, you're not alone. You need to be tenacious. Okay, you need to be resilient. There are many things that you will see, okay, as a visionary that all the people, even your best friends, will not see it. Even your best friends will not believe in it. Even your parents will not believe in it. But if God has put something in your heart and you're convinced about it that this is from God, then you need to hold on to it with your eyes of faith. You just need to hold on to it and then continue. Because I was telling them yesterday, you know, greatness is attained when you start. If you do not start, you can't be great. All right. But there is no great thing, okay, that can happen without you what starting. All right. So you must, but that doesn't mean that you must start great. There was no fancy office. I know most times you guys can see if you want to start something, you'll be looking for fancy office. There was no fancy office, no fancy chairs, no fancy anything. We just started, we just started. No mentor, no guide, nothing. We were just hard, hard guys, We just believed in our dream and we're blind, so blind and stupid, to the cause that, our parents, some of our parents became worried, reporting us, to people, uncles and aunties and cousins, they felt and, persuade us out of it. Um, it was like we were besides ourselves, very normal. That's what passion does. Okay. So it will inflict some pain. And when we had the 20th anniversary, our parents were there, and and I was teasing them. I said, "You people that were chasing us, today you're all proud of, what we've become and the lives we've been able to impact, these 20 years." And that's what great vision is all about. They don't all start, great the way you see them. Every one of them, if you go through, especially in our industry, they are either starting from the garage or they are starting from one no pleasant place. None of them starts from apart from these new Silicon Valley organizations that are having VCs invest in them and all of that. And how many of them really last this long? They are very few because they've not been able to build their resilience, to that level where they can absorb all the shocks, that will come, their way. So you need to, it's, it's, um, it's a process you need to undergo, and you don't need to feel bad that you're not able to pay all your bills now doesn't make you a failure, right? It's just a phase. I was sharing with them. So we bought our first vehicle, it was 150,000 naira. And the person who gave us that vehicle knew that we cannot maintain that vehicle. So he changed the four tires for us. He's a family friend. He changed the four tires for us before he gave us that vehicle. And long before, we knew it, every 100 meters, it is either you're putting water or you're putting oil in the car. Okay. And I mean, and we were driving that car, on Aba Road. I remember once we went to Aba itself, and the car was literally swimming. If you know Aba Road, I mean the roads in Aba, how bad they were then, flooded and all that. And then of course, flying our Aba Road, going to places around Port Harcourt, GRA, the car stopped several times, and then we pushed the car, and it was just a phase, of our life. Some of our friends even saw us in other vehicles, calling us, hailing us, and we were not ashamed, okay, of our circumstance because it was just a phase, all right, of our lives, okay. And the pressure was there because some of our friends were working in the multinationals, even the ones we had better grades than, okay, we were already fixed up and then doing well, okay. The cars they were driving, we couldn't even afford them because we were soaked in our dream. But 20 years down the road, every one of us come out, a good number of them you've never heard about their name. That's the power of what you're putting together, Mr. Jesse. So you don't need to undermine it because maybe people are, your friends are living better, looking better. Some of them are married, and you are not able to know. That's the sacrifice you pay when you want a better dream. Okay. Today, they can call my name in every state of this federation. But it's not same for my classmates that work in Shell or work in, it's not. So that's what you're building, the impact you're going to build is what is taking this time. A story was told about the bamboo tree. Said it takes it 3 years before or so before it sprouts, right? So every other thing you plant with it would have actually grown. But when it comes out, they said it takes less than 2 months or 3 months or thereabout to do what? To get to heights that, will overtake all the others. So that is what is happening. You need a deep root because of the impact you're going to make. And so that takes time. So you just have that at the back of your mind. We may not see physically to mentor you or to have sessions, but I just feel this will encourage you to let you know that because you're going to give birth to something that will stand the test of time, it will require you to also sacrifice more. And don't feel bad. If people try to contradict you, people don't understand you or what you're doing. If you keep at it, at the appointed time, the vision you have will speak for itself.
All right, thank you so much, sir. I'm sure Jesse would have learned a lot from what you've
Yeah,
shared.
definitely.
Yeah,
Amazing.
definitely.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So our apologies for the time that have been spent. It's over an hour 30 minutes now. We apologize for that. We'll be wrapping up as soon as possible. So for the final question, before we call it a wrap, many people, a lot of persons have talked about data as the new oil. And importantly, we have to also note that data is very key for the fourth industrial revolution. And states like Lagos are already investing in data centers as part of the ways to prepare for the future. So we are wondering what kind of data sets should the government at the state level and the local government levels in Rivers State be looking to harvest and utilize over the next decade? You shared a lot of solutions that Cinfores is are working on currently, and a lot of them sounded like solutions that required a lot of data. So in view of this and uh, also from your experience, what kind of data should we be looking at harvesting and utilizing for the next decade?
Okay, so yeah, like you said, Lagos State is investing in data center. In fact, what we are doing, even the court, the judiciary, is just set up its own data center, based on what we working with them on. And so I'm quite abreast, about that. And the state here also will raise that issue. We want to believe, of course, we've got setback because of our political terrain here. And so there are things that are not being sustained. You can follow them through. Want to believe that once things are settled here, the government will also begin to look in that direction. Um, I mean, there's quite a lot of data. I mean, data. I'm speaking with two local government areas now. Talking about enumeration with local government areas because you need data for planning. Without data, you can't plan effectively. I mean, I can call numbers in the places that I go to. So, for example, RSUTH, I know that, their patient load is over 350 per day. All right. What does that tell you? It tells you that you can now begin to look, okay, if we're going to have about 300 to 400 patients a day, okay, what's the ratio, okay, of doctor to patients that we need to have? Okay, if we want to say it's 1:10, 1:10, okay, that means we must have at least 40 patients, I mean, 40 doctors that will be there. If you do not have the numbers, okay, you won't know and you can't plan for it. Okay. So when we are growing. When we started with them, it was like 200. Today, it's double 3 years after. So it tells you that you can't use the same facility, the same number of personnel to what? To give effective service delivery for what? Something that has doubled. That's what it just speaks. Their A&E information is before us. You'll be able to look at it. And so they're seeing the numbers. A&E has tripled. Okay. So naturally, we are seeing the numbers tilting towards this way. So we began to see the numbers before people began to even say, oh, a good number of people are no longer going to UPTH, they're coming down this way. All right. We saw the pattern. The system already has started showing us patterns. Of course, revenue is also going up based on that. But so that's the power of data. You'll be able to analyze and say, oh, you need to expand this. And the state, you've got close to 7 million people in this state. It means that you need a data set, not just one even. And in fact, the size of data set has to carry the data. We're talking about medical data, you're talking about, tax data, you're going to be talking about properties itself, okay? You want to know EIS for all the properties that we have in the state. So you'll be able to know, all of that. So there are quite a lot of things. Facility management, the roads, street lights, all of those things are things that we got platforms that manage them. So if you go to the UK, every meter is uniquely identified. On a road, every meter is uniquely identified. And that's why if you go, their roads are not fanciful, okay, in the UK, but you will see potholes. Their roads are not, smooth. They are not as smooth as the roads you have in GRA, in Port Harcourt. But you won't see potholes because every meter, once a meter is failing, they know that particular meter that is failing, and those guys, they will fix it almost immediately. So the roads are not so smooth and fanciful and wide, but they are functional. I mean, they are functional because street lights, you will not see a dead bulb because every street light is uniquely identified. The one that is on your street now, okay, the one that is 2 poles away from you, the one that is 3 poles, they are all uniquely identified. The lawns, you see, they are keeping lawns. These lawns on the road are all measured in 1 meter and taken care of accordingly. That's the way the facility managers they manage. So that's so much amount of data they work with. When you see places work, people use data to make it function. Same thing with the drains. So we are not yet there. And that's where we are headed to, and that's why the data centers need to be put in place because by the time we begin to move towards that to effectively manage, our public infrastructure, we will need that data for us to be able to do it effectively. So data centers are things, they are not things of the future. Okay, they are things that we need now as a state because the local government should have theirs, the state should have theirs. And then of course, different organizations, parastatals should be able to also have, their own data sets that they should be working with to ensure that they provide the right services to the citizenry.
Wow, thank you so much, sir, once again. Um, it's been an amazing conversation with you. Just before we call it a wrap, we would like to ask a question that we ask everyone who, we speak with, who we have conversations with. What is the river state of your dreams? What are you envisioning for the state in the next 25 years?
So in the next 25 years, I foresee, a state that would have put, you know, its art together, especially having people like you bringing this from the private perspective, you know, from the NGO perspective. We hope that there will be a place where we'll fuse with government, the NGOs, the civil society organizations, we, the private entities and government will fuse together and then forge a common front where we will all come to terms and agree that, oh, River State needs this number of schools that needs to be functional at the primary level. We need so and so number of what secondary schools that need to be functional. We need what X number of what tertiary institutions. These tertiary institutions, primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, these are the kind of curriculum that should be running to be able to what produce the caliber of people that will run the state in the next 25 years. We expect that in education that will be done. We expect that there will be standards that will be put to say if you're building a road in River State going forward, these are the minimum standards that you're going to have. These are the minimum ways, for you to maintain them as well. So we are not just putting drains for drain's sake, and then the drains will be filled with sand, and then there's no maintenance. No, from day one, we are embarking on that. So that's the kind of river state I'm seeing, that will happen, and take us into 2025. A state where, sports will become something that while I was growing up, the way I was exposed to these things, people will begin to leverage all of that. We have security, insecurity, of course, there's no place that is perfectly secure, but we are the level of insecurity will be minimized by the level of, employment that would have generated, between the NGOs, the private sector, the government, and the rest of us, put us together. So we see a state where things will begin to work, where there will be political stability, where we will not be running helter skelter every now and then. A governor is fighting his successor, or one thing or the other. That's plagued us, from Odili to Amechi, from Amechi to Wike to Fubara. Now we don't want to see that cycle. We hope this, will be the last of it, with this reconciliation, and then we'll be able to make progress. Where there will be, you know, this document that you have done now, government working with you, and then we'll have a roadmap for the state for the next 25 years. We are every government that will come after every 4 or 8 years, depending on the cycle, will come and adopt and follow it religiously. I spent 5 days or so in Akwa Ibom last week, and quite amazing. I mean, I saw roads. I mean, down to the rural areas. I saw functional roads. When I mean functional roads, functional roads all over. And I was just showing my wife, and she was like, see this place, see all their roads, see all their roads. By the time you get, because we pass Abia, by the time you enter Abia, you know that you've changed your location, the roads are bad again. Just the way if you follow the Ogoni axis, by the time you come in here, you will know that you left them and then you entered our state. So that's the way. But this guy is investing. The first governor that came, the architect, did his own work. Akabi also did his own work. So they did 16 years and it was road infrastructure. And I tell you, if you go there, it's a delight, to move about. The roads have been structured. Because there's a plan. Succeeding governments come, they follow that kind of plan. That's the kind of plan I think that blueprint you're coming up with will give to us, where we will follow these things. And then, if we say we want the state to be covered with, Wi-Fi for young people to do productive things that they want to do, we have what it takes, to afford that. The state has what it takes to afford that. You have the IOC here that are willing to support, but do not have the guide rails on how to support. And all their funds, will just go into the hands of, community chief here and there. But of course, with the PIA, I mean, this state with the PIA, River State is one of the richest, down to our communities, because the PIA has given so much control to the communities to manage their resources. The amount of money that they have in that, PIA is good enough to turn things around in those communities. Okay, so we are hoping that documents like this will come up and redirect every one of us so that in the next 25 years, we'll see our stadium facility. I went to visit the stadium in Uyo and, I was just looking. Say, once upon a time, the civic center of River State was the epicenter across the country. Okay, but here I'm not sure that our here Mesimaka Stadium is as functional as that one. Why they would have been bringing the football matches here? Okay, but that place is well kept. Things are working. The refuse is well managed. I was showing them. I said, look, nobody is dropping any refuse on the media. They are still the same people like us. So what's the difference? And I was showing. So things can work, and we are hoping that those are the things that your documents will, put together, and we see a state that works. Growing up, I saw, we had the refuse bins, Sulo, come and then you have the refuse vans move within the streets, and they pick our refuse from, our houses, and then of course those receptacles that they put, in different places. These things can work. Okay, we hope that in the next 25 years all of this would work. I mean, we had water come into our houses. It wasn't borehole while I was growing up in Old Port Township. Water was running in our own houses. Okay, we hope all of that will come in into play again, whereby we will not all be relying on borehole. We pray and hope also the power um, the stability of power will be something that we all will see will improve. Even if the average businessman can actually secure, even if it is 18 hours of power supply alone. I tell you, with the way we are resilient, we don't ask for more. So if we could get that, in the next 25 years, River State will also work, okay, now that the, the there's a law enabling state to also distribute, we're hoping that we will also lash into that. And then in our agri space, we should be talking about food sufficiency. Up till now, 70, 80% of the food we consume in River State come from outside. So we want to see how we'll be blessed with arable lands here and there. We want to see how these lands will be utilized productively, in such a way that our mothers and brothers, uncles in the village can go to their fishing ports, get the fish like they used to, and then of course, people can go to the farm on scat here and then get the farm produce, whereby we'll be able to provide food for 7 million people. That is a massive economy. I mean, if we are providing food for ourselves, it's a massive economy within the state that will generate jobs upon jobs upon jobs upon jobs. Okay, for people here. just to be food, sufficient alone. So these are the things that we are looking at, in the next 25 years that, government and succeeding government that will come between now and then will put their minds in all of these areas, key areas that will ensure that the average citizen, okay, of River State, will find it worth staying, within the state. Thank you.
Beautiful, really, really articulate pictures and ideas from a true Rivers person. And it was sounding so passionate. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a very, very beautiful conversation with you, and we've learned a lot. I have to also thank everyone for being on this call, and also a special shout out to Chiwendun, who has been the rapporteur for this conversation. Thank you once more, sir. God bless you. Over to Ebenezer. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not going to keep us longer than here because we've almost been here for 2 hours. But sir, this has been one of our best sessions. Thank you so much for all of the ideas and the wisdom that you've shared. I had just put in the chat when you mentioned Akwa Ibom State to say that my former role when I was working at Paint Foundation, I got a chance to see the model, like the cardboard model of what the architect, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, had built for the state, and how every successive government has just followed through with the same plan, and it's really beautiful to see. And just as you said, they don't have two heads. There's nothing that any of these states have that we don't have. We have the resources, we have the manpower, we have the intelligent people, and I hope that we can really, really put all of that to work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. All of these insights will go into the book. And we'll keep you posted on how everything goes across the various processes. And when we need your help, we'll also reach out as well to let you know anywhere we need your support. Thanks a lot and have a great rest of your weekend, and our regards to your family.
Thank you very much, Eben, and the team. Thanks for the great job you're doing. We hope to see face to face one of these days and then take this further as well. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.